And the river still shines and shimmers in the light as it did in our grandfather's day, when they rode all night to fish in the morning and lived in Willapa Bay.
Can you hear me in the back? My mother always told me to quiet down. Okay, the heck with what she said. I need to be noisier, and you need to be quieter, maybe? Anyway, I am introducing Colin Kaferle. He's in Portland by way of Orcas Island in Washington, in case you don't know. He has fished for Dungeness crab on the FV Pinky Bee in Puget Sound, Sailor Sea, and he's now a full-time gardener and sometimes crabber. I'm not sure how you combine crabbing and gardening, but that's okay. Colin, come on up.
All right, this is a big room. Can you guys hear me? So I'm gonna start off with a poem that's a tribute to a car. My best friend and captain and his family traveled down from the San Juan Islands to Portland to buy a used car. And while they were in Portland, the car that they drove down in got stolen, which I don't think there's anyone who's lived in Portland for an appreciable amount of time that hasn't had their car stolen. If you haven't, you're really lucky. So just word to the wise, be careful when you drive to Portland. Better to take the bus or hitchhike. But that car was integral to our crabbing operation. And this poem is called Crab Car's Last Ride. The crab car found its way to Medford through no fault of its own. Most likely methamphetamines on the gas pedal got it there. It was an unlikely place, the high desert of southern Oregon, for that saline rig to end up. Personally, I think it would have preferred to join the unlicensed fleet of make-do rides on Waldron Island, or been left to sink into the ground and grow moss at the edge of a green field. At the very least, abandoned with a view of the incoming tide. No one can say she didn't do all that was asked of her, hauling cans of crab, bait, and a sleeping toddler wherever need be, lent to brave and desperate friends, a RAV4 for the ages, queen of the North Ditch, dream mother at the break of day. Some of us will miss you. It was a manual transmission, and you actually had to use two hands to change gears. It was terrifying. You had to let go of the wheel. We still loved it. This one's called Prune Alley Crab Stand. We sell crab out the back of my pickup on Sundays and holidays. Sometimes we sell because the weather is nice, or we just want some money. I set up the scale on the tailgate to weigh the ones that people have pointed out and wrap them up in paper bags I buy from the grocery store. The regulars bring buckets or waxed boxes. Mrs. Joplin stops and gives us cash, but refuses our crab. She thinks we're bums and leaves her card in case we need help signing up for benefits. She's good at that sort of thing. But with 2 cans of crab, a cup of coffee, and a few of my friends hanging around, I see no need for charity. So this poem has very little to do with fishing other than the fact that it was inspired by my trip from Portland to last year's FisherPoets Gathering. And some might remember and might have experienced the winter storm we had in the Willamette Valley in Western Oregon and Southwest Washington. And so it was kind of dicey, and I wasn't sure exactly what the trip out here was going to be like, but I made it from Portland, and yeah, it was a beautiful day. It was like shimmering white, light snow. It was great. But I have to explain that for those of you who don't know, so this poem is called Bikini Barista Again. And for those who don't know, a bikini barista is a barista who sells coffee out of a espresso shack, but they're only wearing their bathing suit. It's a thing. So this is called Bikini Barista Again, and I should also point out that there is just a bikini barista poem before this one, but that has nothing to do with fishing. This has almost nothing to do with fishing, but yes, I went back to see the bikini barista. Weather and circumstance drove me there. Tires chained, bed full of sand. The 93 pickup, a Japanese-made prayer crawling 100 miles towards the coast. If I was to die on that road, a plastic bouquet laid in the ditch, would not a cup of coffee ease my passage to whatever lay beyond those white lines? So when I paid the $9 plus tip, I felt my luck had changed and made a run along the great river to the gathering place near its mouth. This is a poem that I wrote. It was inspired by a friendship I made through Fisher Poets, and probably a lot of people here know, or at least know, the name Clem Stark. Clem couldn't be here this weekend with us, but this poem is dedicated to him. This poem's called New Friend. I made a new friend who lives outside of town. He is a widower, and I, a man who is not yet married. We sit at his kitchen table in an old house on a hillside and talk. We've both been on boats and learned to work with wood, though I have yet to tamp ballast for the railroad or read the Chinese masters. So we laugh, eat coffee cake, and forget, for a while, that we are alone. So I used to live on Orcas Island in the Salmon Islands of the Salish Sea. I now live in Portland, and I don't get out to the ocean very often, but I do have some spots by the Willamette and Columbia Rivers that I like to go and visit, and I have a sit spot in particular I like to go to and daydream and look far from, and this is a poem about that spot. It's called The Overlook. There's a bluff above the river that I visit when I want to become unstuck. I watch the freight trains and container ships that pass, imagining I can catch a ride, maybe along the coast, down to San Francisco. My brother lives there, or out to open water and on towards Kolkata, the city of joy. I let my head create a kind of smoke, one that wraps around memory, smolders on reminder. It pushes into the quiet places so that you could do your job or sleep through the night. Those places I have been before, they are the ones that stir me from my bench at present, cause me to squint, to reckon with the glare of the water. Those are the ones I wish to return to with a stronger heart, with the residue of so many days lived in between. But look, it's nearly spring, and to leave now would mean missing the daffodils that bloom on the edge of the hill underneath the cottonwood trees. It's another river poem. This one's called Crossing the St. John's Bridge. And for those of you who don't know, the St. John's Bridge is a suspension bridge, a beautiful suspension bridge, really tall suspension bridge that crosses the Willamette before its confluence with the Columbia. Crossing the St. John's Bridge the day after Thanksgiving in a cold mist, I sidestep an old bouquet of flowers, now brown and melting, left for someone who leapt and hugged the railing. It was from here that the climbers rappelled to block the icebreaker Fennica on its way to Shell oil leases in the Chukchi Sea. And it is from here that I wonder about the agreements we make with ourselves to achieve peace. One more? Great. So just to preface this one a little bit, I am now a full-time gardener at the Portland Japanese Garden. Yep. So you guys know it. And I actually take time off so that I can go crab fishing for free. So I spent, I think, 4 days on a commercial crab boat this season. But I had the honor and privilege of being a guest at Oregon State Prison down in Salem, where they have built a Japanese-inspired healing garden. And for those of you who don't know, Oregon State Prison is where Oregon's death row was until recently, and where the death chamber was until they dismantled it. And it's just an amazing, amazing garden that the adults in custody and various volunteers and people in the landscape industry and designers have built there. And it's a testament to what nature can do and can do in a place like a prison or for people that are incarcerated. So this is inspired by that, and it's not related to fishing, but I often don't get to speak in front of a crowd, and I think this is an important thing. It starts with a quote. "The compass can go wrong. The stars, never." Tongan navigator. Once free island people, now held behind 25-foot walls at Oregon State Prison. And Rudy, there since the age of 18, sentenced to die until the governor's commutation in 22, explaining Buddhist philosophy, quoting Christian scripture, drawing parallels, and glowing under early March rain. Their garden, the first of its kind, pines and a stone lantern, bridge over the creek that feeds the koi pond where large men learn flower arrangement, call the fish by name. The yard, a reminder, as are the many who cross it, make calls on payphones, huddle in groups. 3 gates and 3 checkpoints, rifles, billy clubs, and razor wire, a supermax temple growing something precious in view of the guard tower. Thank you.
May the road rise to meet you. May the wind be always at your back. The sunshine warm upon your face. The rain falls soft.
Okay, thank you so much for talking with us today about the Fisher Poets Gathering. We really appreciate your stopping. Can I ask your names and where you're from?
Christine
And Phil.
from Portland.
Yeah.
And is this your first time at the Poets Gathering?
No, it's
Third.
our third time. Third time
Yeah.
at the Poets.
Okay.
Before COVID and this one.
So if you're here 3 times, you really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It's motivated you to come back. What is it you've super enjoyed about it?
Oh, the variety.
The variety. Yeah. There's some of the artists you want to hear longer, and yet 15 minutes, and then you're on to kind of somebody else, and the songs and the poetry and the prose, and some of it's very heartwarming, and some of it's just funny.
Yeah, exactly that.
Okay, I know we only had performances last night that you probably went to. We haven't seen tonight's yet, but for what you've seen so far this year, what was your favorite?
Oh, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, it's such a variety.
It's the immersive experience, and it's there's such heart from each of those that are presenting, and it's such an honor and privilege to be in the audience. So we're loving all of it.
Oh my gosh, you were the perfect people to interview. So you said that so beautifully. So, tips for anybody coming in, or anything you want to tell them to lure them in?
You can't go wrong with any of the venues. Just pick one, and I don't know.
And you can always get up and walk at any time, and it's so welcoming here in Astoria, and it's a perfect spot. And it's small. It feels like intimate encounter, being able to hear these such personal stories, and then you get to mill around and see faces that look familiar and new faces, and you just come. You're gonna love it.
You know what? It's been my privilege to talk with the two of you. Thank you so much for your time.